Hello everyone, welcome to another GRIMGAR video. Today's video we're going to talk about Ranta's equipment from the beginning of GRIMGAR till the most recent volumes. It's like about volume 19. We did this last week for Howard's equipment and you guys seem to really enjoy that. So I thought it'd be fun to do Ranta's equipment, which Ranta's a bit of a wild card with all the stuff he picks up, honestly. Just like last week, I'm going to be using GRIMGAR's Wikipedia to actually help keep myself on track and make sure I'm not missing too many things. If I do miss any equipment, let me know in the comments down below. And do not forget to hit the like button and let me know what you thought about this video in the comments down below. And let's have a conversation about what you guys think Ranta's going to have in Volume 20 if they give him any new equipment. To start off, Ranta, like everyone else in GRIMGAR, starts off with having equipment given to them by the guild. And the guild that Ranta's a part of is the Dread Knight. So he is given very, very light armor and a longsword. This equipment is usually, if not always, hand-me-down volunteer soldier equipment from volunteer soldiers that have already died. This equipment is not the best, and it's honestly kind of gross. The armor that Ranta is given at the very beginning of the story has hard leather on it, however, with the skull hell design brand on the chest. And as far as I'm aware, there is nothing fancy or interesting about his longsword. They just call it a longsword. One thing that is not in the Wikipedia, funny enough, is the helmet that Ranta gets either at the end of Volume 1 or at the beginning of Volume 2. I forgot exactly when he gets it. But it is a helmet that he loses pretty much at the end of Volume 2 when he throws it at a kobold's head to make some distance between him and the kobold. Because he was surrounded by kobolds, he immediately took his helmet off and just yeeted it at the nearest kobold's face. He also gets a replacement for this helmet in Volume 3. He actually has it in one of the illustrations in Volume 3 when he's carrying the ladder without a hero. It's like attached to part of his back. It's kind of weird, but I mean, cool. Ranta eventually replaces this helmet with a different helmet in Volume 5. This helmet has a much cooler design that's kind of like a skull design, and he also has a really nice visor on the helmet. You can also see this helmet in one of the illustrations as well, and honestly, it looks pretty badass. He finally gets an upgrade to his longsword, and he names it Betrayer. The Wikipedia says it's of decent quality. The design of Betrayer is essentially a black longsword. Ranta really likes the sword until he finds another sword, and he immediately throws away Betrayer for a sword that he decides to name, god damn it, Thunder Sword Dolphin. Thunder Sword Dolphin is a unique, special kind of sword that you can only find in the Dusk Realm. Thunder Sword Dolphin has a crazy ability to be able to paralyze the person that it touches. Now, it doesn't need to touch them directly, it just needs to touch any part of metal that they may be holding as well. So if you block with your sword, your body is now paralyzed. If you block with your shield, well, your body is now paralyzed. This thing was a pain in the ass to deal with, and a lot of enemies in the Dusk Realm had these swords. Ranta loves this thing. However, these swords seem to have a finite amount of charges before the electrical paralyzation ability kind of goes away. Or it depletes if you get out of the Dusk Realm, because when he went into GRIMGAR, it still had some of its charges left, but when he went back to GRIMGAR with these swords, he immediately lost all and any charges when he was in GRIMGAR, and he regrets throwing away his Betrayer. In case it wasn't clear, all of these items were things that Ranta picked up or bought in Volume 5. In the next volume, Volume 6, Ranta buys another sword and names it Betrayer Mark II. It's essentially the exact same sword that he had in Volume 5, except he just called it Mark II. In Volume 7, Ranta bought an entire new set of armor. It's much lighter and a lot more creepy looking than his previous set of armor. Ranta actually starts calling it his Dread Armor, which, alright, cool. Also in Volume 7, Ranta buys a unique two-handed longsword with a good long ricosso. For those of you who don't know, ricosso is basically the spot between the guard and the blade where you can actually put your other hand on to give you more leverage or more control over your blade. Also, I'm not sure if I'm saying ricosso correctly, so I apologize if I mispronounced that. The sword was also light enough to wield with one hand as well, which is actually pretty unique for a longsword. He named it, this is what the Wikipedia says by the way, Ripper or Riper. I think in the light novel that I read, he called it Viper, but I could be wrong. I might be misremembering that. This also might be a translation difference. I'm not 100% sure. Ranta also bought a pair of armored gauntlets, which is, I think, the most armor he's worn in a long time, actually. And he bought these specifically to be able to hold his sword a little better. It also gives his hands, obviously, more protection. And he gave Betrayer Mark II to Kuzuku. And finally, in Volume 7, Ranta actually loses Ripper and picks up a katana and a sheath. This was a farewell gift from Takagashi. This katana is the one he currently has in the light novel and is the one you see in the newest artworks. And it's the weapon that he still currently has in the story to this day. Oh, also, at some point in the story, Ranta did actually have a knife as well. We have absolutely no idea where he got this knife, but he has it in Volume 7, and he tries to fight off a jaguar with it. Also, at some point between volume 9 and volume 14 plus, Ranta picks up a small bag that he actually either created or he bought, where he keeps a bunch of medical supplies like herbs and bandages inside of. It is heavily implied through the light novel that Ranta actually learned to take care of himself out in the wild, and he learned to essentially pick grasses, herbs, mushrooms, and other random stuff through the world that can help clean wounds and illnesses, and he just kind of taught himself to carry these things at all times just in case he gets sick. You see him actually use this bag on a half-orc child to clean up one of his wounds in volume 14 plus. Ranta also picks up a wooden mask that he wears all the time. It's just something he thinks looks cool, but everyone else kind of thinks looks really dumb. We have absolutely no idea where he got it, or if he made it himself. He probably made it himself, if I'm being honest. And it's kind of implied that Ranta seems to have some emotional connection to this mask, but I don't recall there being anything important about this mask. He just kind of likes the way it looks on him. And finally, for Ranta's last change of wardrobe in volume 16, near the end, some bad stuff happens. So Ranta and his friends have to get an entire new wardrobe change. The end of volume 16 and onward, Ranta and his friends get an entire new set of armor that essentially is red and black mixed together, and it looks especially good on Ranta because his hair matches really well with the rest of the armor set. This new armor set essentially sports an entire upper torso of it that looks kind of like a jacket, kind of like a mortar jacket, kinda. He's got 2 shoulder pads that are armored. I'm like 90% sure that he has leather armor under the jacket. And it also has a crap ton of straps for no reason. And he has really well armored legs, which actually look pretty good. And this next part isn't necessarily a costume change, but Ranta in volume 19, in terms of design, Ranta gets a scar across his face now. So that's a whole new thing he gets to deal with. And Haru has to admit that he does actually look pretty cool with the scar across his face. But that's all of Ranta's gear and design changes throughout the entire light novel. Let me know what you guys think he might get in volume 20. And if you enjoy stuff like this, please let me know in the comments, like this video, and thank you to all of my subscribers over on Twitch. If you want a chance to get a shout out at the end of the video like this, either use the thanks feature here on YouTube, or give a sub to anybody on Twitch, or subscribe yourself to my Twitch to have your name put at the end of my videos. We're getting closer and closer to 500 followers over on my Twitch, and I really appreciate it if you guys can go follow that. We're playing Baldur's Gate and Leave the Company and playing our D&D campaign on Twitch. It's been a lot of fun, and I hope to see you guys then. And I hope to see you guys there. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a nice night.